What's up, everybody? What's up, everybody? It is the Arkatech Beatz Music Business Podcast. We are your hosts, Platinum Producers, Arkatech Beatz. I'm Juggernaut,
I am Mike Trauma D.
and together we are the super duper duo, Arkatech Beatz. If it's your first time here, welcome. Every week we get together and we talk about music business topics to help artists, independent artists, producers navigate this crazy music business. Today, we are going to be talking about the how to avoid bad music publishing deals, and also we're going to be talking about the importance of registering your songs, and we're going to give you some tips on how to do that. Right. So if it's your first time here, make sure you're hitting the subscribe button, notifications, follow everything, so forth and so on. We're going to get into this, right? So in this week, we had some news about the Quentin Miller, right? And if people aren't familiar with Quentin Miller, he is the ghostwriter who wrote for Drake, and he claims that he did half a dozen songs for Drake and didn't get paid because he was trapped into a bad publishing deal. I'm going to show this on the screen real quick so people can see. Like, this is the Double XL article. It says Drake ghostwriter Quentin Miller claims he never officially been paid for writing Drizzy songs. And it's basically saying that he wrote songs in 2015. It's claiming that he never got paid. And then he also talks about how he got into a publishing deal. It says Tricky Stewart, right? Claims that he got paid $30,000 advance in his music publishing deal. But never got any money on the back end for writing credits for 6 Drake songs. Now, this article can be a little bit misleading. I want to start with that, right?
Jug, just before we get into it, just explain to them like exactly what is a publishing deal, and just how normally it's set up.
So when you get into a publishing deal, there are 2 types, right? We're talking about there are 2 types of publishing deals. One that would be an admin deal, right? And an admin deal is basically short for an administration deal, where basically they don't take any of your publishing per se. What they do is they do retain a percentage, maybe anywhere between 10 to 15%. If it goes beyond that, that's a little high. But they take a percentage to basically go and collect all of the money that you have due to you.
So they go out, search and collect your money for you.
Collect your money for you.
And in return, they charge you a fee, right?
They charge you a fee. So they're doing the administration for your publishing.
Right.
Now, I want people to understand that this ties into the other thing of song registration, right? Or registering your songs, because they can't administer it if you don't register your songs properly.
Right.
So that's the other caveat here. So people think that because you have an admin deal that, oh, my money is just supposed to magically appear and there's nothing else for you to do. It doesn't work that way.
You got to register your songs first.
Still have to register your songs, or you have to submit to them the information for them to register the songs.
Right.
So we'll get into that. So then the other situation is that now in his case, he took another publishing deal where he gets an advance. And the advance is going to be basically, he may have either sold a portion of his publishing for the advance, or he said, okay, I'm going to take the advance, and what they're going to do is they're going to collect the money first of what they gave him before he gets a dime back.
So basically, he has to recoup, and then he could go back and ask for more money,
right?
And they'll front him another load of money up front,
right? But he has to recoup the money that they gave him, and then it depends on whatever the percentages are that he needs to, the percentage of what he owns on the songs for him to recoup the money. That's the whole other situation in itself.
Now, are all publishing deals set up like that? Meaning, can they say, listen, we're going to do a deal with you for a certain length of time. We're going to front you $30,000, and if we collect more than $30,000, you don't get anything else. That's all you're getting, $30,000.
If his lawyers allow him to sign that, then yeah, that can happen too.
because it may look like something like that. It looks like we're gonna because it's a gamble. You don't know what you're gonna do in the future, and neither does whoever give you the publishing. So look, we're gonna take a risk and say, okay, guy, we're giving you 30 grand for this amount of publishing for this length of time. If we come under and only make 20,000, we take the L.
Right.
But if we make 50, we win, and we don't owe you no more money. So do you want to do this deal? Do you want to bet on yourself or what?
I don't. Do you think that this deal is structured this way?
Well, why?
It just couldn't be like that. I couldn't. You couldn't find a competent attorney to agree to that.
So let's talk about what he's complaining about and what the situation is.
Because he's saying he got $30,000 in advance, which is basically like, okay, you got $30,000 in advance. Typically, what's supposed to happen if you have 100% of a song, they're supposed to be coming for maybe at most half, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like,
right.
No competent attorney is going to tell you to give him more than half of your music publishing.
But this goes back to our last week's episode. Did he consult an attorney?
Oh, that's a whole nother question. That's a whole nother question. You know what I'm saying? Because, it would be ridiculous for him to give 100% of his song up and not retain any ownership at all. So this is okay. So let's get these folks good and talking about, okay, this is what you don't do. Somebody comes and wants to give you some money in the upfront and say, okay, here goes some money for the advance. We want some of your publishing, right? We don't want to admin it. We want a portion of your publishing. Never give them 100% of your publishing. Always retain a portion of your publishing so things like this cannot happen to you. So even if they can collect their advance off of a portion of your publishing, not all of it. If you give them all of your publishing for that amount of money, then this is probably why you're saying he didn't get any money on the back end. He probably signed over 100% of it for a particular length of time.
Right.
Like, why would you do that? Like, you got to retain a portion of it in order for you to so that you can still get some of the fruit of your labor.
Was he saying he was like really like down on his luck at the time? Like, he was like, broke. Maybe in them situations. See, what happens is when you're in desperate situations and you're broke and you're living in sleeping on basement floors and you trying to feed your family. Those are some of the worst times to make a quote unquote deal. Because you're thinking for the now. And I get it, you're just trying to get a buck so you can live for the day, but sometimes these companies or these publishers or whoever, they know how desperate you are. They know how desperate, you trying to feed your family or get out the hood. So they're going to front you the minimum. They're going to give you the bad deals because you're going to jump for it. You're desperate. You have nothing right now. And that's a very dangerous situation because that can haunt you for years.
You see it. This is what's happening to him. It looks like he signed a deal where he gave away 100% of it for $30,000. That's what it looks like.
And of course, look, we don't have all of the information. We're speculating based on what he's saying. Right. And for all we know, he's not even sure of what he's supposed to get.
Signed, right?
What he signed.
Yeah, you don't even. To me, it doesn't like he's clear on anything on what he signed, on what the situation is.
And for you to be in a situation that long, and let's be clear, it's not just the music. I spent countless time on social media people are blaming Drake for that. And
no, you can't blame Drake for that.
It just goes to show how many people do not know about the music business and want to get on these platforms and want to talk about it. People were literally blaming Drake. I looked on the feeds, I was checking social media, and people were blaming Drake for the situation. I'm like, Drake has nothing to do with the situation.
Right. It has nothing to do with you signing a bad deal.
You signed a bad deal with a third party.
Yep.
So basically,
credits you, and the third party is taking what they got to take from what he credited for you. So that's what it is.
So whoever he works with, whether it's Drake, whether it's Nas, whether it's whoever he attached his publishing to, is gonna receive that publishing. if he's working with anybody, it's not just Drake, but you know, he's saying Drake just for the
cloud of it,
but for the headlines.
Yeah.
You know, he's using that name as part of the headlines to kind of show the story. We get it, you know. And it seems like he has to get paid under the table, like his advances under the table. You know, it seems like he's working with artists, and the artist got a front is giving him money under the table, you know, like a fee. He's probably charging a fee where he could get it.
Yeah.
And that's all he's getting. You know, so if he works with a Drake, if he works with a Nas, if he works with whoever, you know, a 21, whoever he's working with, he probably charges a fee up front, like, you know, $5,000, $10,000. And that's it. That's all he's getting because his publishing is owned by somebody else. And in a normal situation, when you write for someone, you know, you'll get your publishing, you know, and it seems like he's not getting it according to what he's saying.
Right. According to what he's saying, it looks like all of it is signed away.
Right.
And it was signed away for that $30,000 advance.
And again, we got to kind of make a disclaimer. This is just his side of the story.
Right.
We don't know. We don't know what the other side of the story is. We don't know if somebody's going to come back and say, "Nah, that's not true." Right. You know, he blew his money. You know, we don't know. So we're just taking what the
headline is saying.
Right.
That's what the headline is saying.
The headline is saying what he's been saying in interviews, and you know, just giving you some information on what to kind of avoid, and give you some information on how to move in regards to that.
It's crazy, and the way that artists can really avoid this is, again, we suggest if you're going to do any sort of publishing situation, it need to be only an admin. That's our suggestion, is doing only admin deals, unless you're in a situation where you need money. If you're in a situation where you are in dire straits and you need a whole bunch of bread, and someone says, "Hey, we like your songs. We feel like there's potential, earning potential." If somebody is willing to offer you money for your publishing, that means that your song has a ton of earning potential, or your songs have a bunch of earning potentials. It's not easy to come across publishing deals. Be clear. Like only the best songwriters, the best producers are offered these situations. And the only reason why they're offering it to you is because you have an outlet for it to get published. Right? They're not coming to people who are writing songs in their basement and they have no way to get them placed. If they know that you have songs that's coming out with major artists, they want part of that revenue stream.
Absolutely.
So once they're coming and they're saying, "Hey, I got a publishing deal for you," whether it be an admin or whether it be a deal where you're going to cut some of the publishing with them, they're coming because they know that there's earning potential there.
Yeah.
So you have to be smart and say, "Okay, they're coming. They want portion of it. If they're offering me this, it's worth that." Right? If they're giving you 50,000, it's probably worth 10 times that. Right.
Right.
So you have to realize that this is what the situation is. Okay, I need money now. Don't sell all of it. Right. Always retain a portion of it, so that you can realize some of the other funds, you know, over time. Because if you give it all to them, then you're not going to realize what you could have been earning. You're not going to know what you could be earning.
You know what, Jug? What's the scary part is, like, you know, today you're working with a certain level of artists, and you know you get these these publishing deals, and you're like, okay, you know, and you know you sign a publishing deal, and then a year later, you start working with the biggest artists.
Yeah,
and those publishing checks, man, could really be substantial.
That's right.
And so you have to kind of like foresee what your general earnings can be, you know, and man, it could be to the moon.
It's real, like, and it really depends on your hustle. If you know that you're a person that's going to be out here and you're going to try to really hustle it, and you know that you've hustled your way to where you've got some notoriety, and now they're coming and they want to give you some bread, and you know that you're not going to stop hustling once you get the bread, then if you know how you work, and if you know that you can write good music, and you know that you're not empty in the tank, and you have a system to pump out the music and get it out to people, you should never want to, you know, give it all up. You should bet on yourself.
Right. You know, and if you need something now, you know, like you were saying before, definitely, you know, you could consider, like, you know, a percentage, and
of course, yeah,
and maybe that should be for a certain period of time, and then refrain back to you at a certain time,
Right.
depending,
Or if you
um,
deliver a certain amount of songs,
right.
like, let me deliver a certain amount of songs at a certain percentage. But that's the other part of it, is that, most of the publishing deals want you to deliver, X amount of 100% songs. So if you write 50% of a song, you have to write X amount of songs for people in order to get out of your deal. And I think
Right.
that's what happened with Hit Boy and those guys, is they were trapped in these deals where they had to give a certain amount of songs, and it had to be major label releases. They couldn't be independent releases, and
And
that's
some of
another
them
issue.
would they have to be at a certain percent?
Yes. So sometimes they may want you to have, say they want you to have 10 100% songs, but you
Mm.
did 10 songs with Nas and you only got 50%. So you would have to do 20 in order to get that 100% songs.
And then on top of that, if there's samples involved,
Right. And
that
then
chops into that.
that chops into that. So if you got samples, if you got multiple writers, and that's the other thing with the Quentin Miller story that we don't have the info on, is the 6 songs, how many writers on it. Like nowadays, you can see songs with upwards of 5, 6, 10 writers, because guys are using sample players, guys are doing this, they're doing, there's so many people that
Yeah,
are involved in making
collaborating.
records. Yeah, they're
Hmm.
collaborating at a clip that we weren't really accustomed to. But once you start getting into 4, 5, 6, 7 collaborators, your song percentages start to shrink. So now it gets really even harder for you to make up whatever that publishing company may have given you in terms of having to make 100% songs. Like, so that's where it gets a little bit tricky. But you have to be smart about that and say, okay, how can I get the major label releases? And I think also in today's publishing deals that folks need to be looking out for is that it shouldn't all be 100% major label releases. A lot of these artists are not major label release. That's the
Yeah,
reality of it. A lot of artists, they had their deals and now they're independent,
yeah,
and
yeah.
it doesn't mean that you can't earn money from independent artists, because you can,
You
but it
can.
should
Yep.
count towards your song count. Like only a handful of artists right now are signed. There's not everybody else is, either doing empire deals and so forth and so on. And that's
I'm
not
one.
really considered major label per se. Well, it is, but
Right.
it's considered being independent.
I'm wondering what was holding him from getting out of that deal? Because when did he say he signed that deal?
Well, according to the article, it's saying
It sounded like
he
almost a
said he
10
said he
10 year
signed
deal.
it. If you see here, I'm going to put it back on the screen. If you see here, he said he signed in 2011. So he may
Yeah.
have just aged out of the deal, right? Because he said he couldn't get out of there until 2019, so it might have been like a 7 or 8 year deal.
Okay.
So he just timed himself out of that, but apparently he wasn't able to deliver what he needed to deliver.
That's
Because
that's probably. I mean, we're speculating, but there's just so many scenarios on why you can't get out. And you sign a bad deal, you can't always walk away from it like clean cut. You
they're
know,
not going to let you walk away without paying. You know how the game go.
yeah.
Like,
So you got to be very careful when you're signing deals, man. And like like I said before, consult attorney, and you have to do some research yourself. And a lot of times, you know, cats don't want to do the work, Jug. Cats don't want to read. Cats don't want to do the research. Cats don't want to ask questions. They see a contract and they just want to jump on it and they think it's on. And they don't take the time to say, you know what, let me take this and read this. Let me ask some questions. Let me find out what this is about. What does this mean? How is this gonna impact, me not just now, but 5 to 10 years down the line. They're not thinking about that. And
it's because
it's
it's daunting, man. Like, if you really think about this thing, it's like it's so complex, especially the music publishing side. And I think what I was trying to tell some of our listeners is that we're going to spend a lot more time really deconstructing the music publishing, appropriate song registration. Like, these are the things that are so important, because that's really the money that you probably see first, right? Like
yeah,
the artist royalties they were talking about that you would get from your actual music from being signed. Um, that's further down the line. But the publishing is something that you can kind of control in the beginning, and you can see that money in as little as 6 months. It just depends if you've registered your songs appropriately, and if you're maximizing it, and if you're protecting yourself. Like, there are a whole bunch of things that we just have to really make sure that artists are educated on. And it's a like you said, it's confusing. It's it causes people anxiety. Like, I see so many people think, I don't know what am I supposed to do with this? I got my songs. What am I supposed to do? Where do I start? And it's
I
like,
mean,
it's absolutely confusing.
even in this for this topic, the amount of people that was giving, like for the Quentin Miller situation, and just by the response to the initial post, about this news, the amount of, well, I'm talking about hundreds of people just chiming in and just saying the wrong things, and like talking about publishing in a way that it was unheard of. Like, you're wrong. That's
That's not how it
incorrect.
works. Yeah.
That's not how it works. Like, and people just chiming in, and other people just taking that information and applying it. And it's like, you guys are getting your information from the wrong people. You guys are just, you got to be very careful of social media and the people who are making these posts. You can't just take anything from, anybody. These people need to be, to have some sort of credentials. People need to be vetted. Who are they? Why are you listening to them? And I spent a good portion of my day just kind of trying to, make sure that, I can give some good information in there between all of that nonsense, because, man, it's sad to see, people trying to get into this business and they just steered wrong, just, right off course, based on bad information. It's,
No, it's like the blind leading the blind.
yeah, it's weak,
Yeah.
man. That ain't,
Yeah.
and how are we going to grow? Like, how are we going to move this business forward and get it to where it needs to be, not just for us, but for the next generation? If we're continuously running around in circles, giving each other bad information.
And
You
that's what
know
puts us at a disadvantage as a community.
exactly,
It's the poor information that we keep sending back and forth to each other, and it's like,
and it just keeps us at bay while the record companies, publishing companies, all these other companies and people just continue to prey on our community. It's weak, man.
it's more than weak. So, but that's what we're here for, right? And it's up to us now, as the folks who have actually gone through the situation, who have had the publishing deals, who have gone through the offers, who have you know been in this situation long enough to say, hey, don't do it like this, do it like this.
Yeah.
Like,
We
don't.
we took a few L's, so y'all don't
Oh
have
yeah,
to.
you take the, yeah. We took the lumps, so you don't have to take the lumps. But it really is up to folks to really pay attention. But you'd be really surprised how some folks just can't seem to get through some of these videos with the information.
Yeah.
It's kind of sad. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's sad. So it's like, when we're talking about bad music publishing deals, you see some of your biggest names complaining about bad deals, man. Like,
Yeah.
when you hear Hit Boy talk about how bad his deal was,
Yeah.
it was just horrible to see that this guy was responsible for Grammy award winning projects, and was talking about how the deal was so bad that he had ran out of money and all kind of situations because his deal was so bad and he couldn't earn from that.
Yeah. And there's
And it's
multiple artists. There's multiple artists that complained and said they've never got paid off of a record. From Meek Mill all the way to, like, people just unaware of what's going on with their business.
I think there's some mishandling going on, man. Like these songs are supposed to get registered, and what I've seen throughout our time is that a song can be released, and I can see a song don't get registered for months or maybe years at a time.
That's dangerous.
I've seen that personally, where major artists um have have not sought to register a song that they released on major labels for months at a time, maybe up to a year at a time, before they even get the song registered, before they even check to see what's going on that situation.
So, Jug, what
right?
prevents anybody from saying, you know what? Let me go register that song for myself. Like,
Nothing prevents you. Remember what I said before? I said there's no check and balance for when you do the initial registration. There's no check and balance. Like the ASCAP takes, I'm just talking for ASCAP. I can't talk for any other place. I put the song titles in. You register the song. If no one contests it, it rides. And then once it starts to pay out, right, you're gonna have to now produce contracts in order to change or reverse course of what was, to reverse that how it's registered. Like so, you can basically upload and register your song without any contracts, anything. So you can just register a song by name, and if you have the ISRC number, and then you can register the song, and there's nobody to say you shouldn't register the song or you can't. And then they're gonna check their database to see if anybody else has the same name song or same ISRC number. If it doesn't exist, they're gonna take it as you're the song registrant, and that's what it is. Now, what can happen, and what has happened in the background, this is why I know that they don't the checks and balances are off, is because we've registered songs, and in some cases the splits may not have been 100% accurate, right?
mm-hmm,
So we may have registered it first,
mm-hmm.
and then they may say, well, no, you have to tweak this because this person on the other side may have a music publishing deal, and their publisher needs to get a portion of that record from their side. But you don't see that change occur until maybe a year or two later.
Yeah. Yep.
Right? So that's telling you that whoever their music publisher is, or whoever's handling their situation, they're behind. Now that could be because there's a swamp or whatever, or the artist didn't do the due diligence in
And in some
submitting,
cases you can't. In some cases you can't even get your phones until those things are cleared up.
because they'll lock it up because now there's a discrepancy.
Yep.
Right. So once there's a discrepancy, now somebody has to send supporting evidence, and most times the music publisher will send the contract and send the contract in, and then once the contract is sent in, they'll say, "Hey, this is what the split should be." Okay, but look how long it took.
Remember that old record? There was an old record that, speaking of Nas, there was an old Nas record that came back to us that we did back in the days, and the splits were
wrong.
Yeah, and we're like, whoa,
they wouldn't pay anybody, and this went on for damn near a decade.
Yeah.
It went on for damn near a decade, and
we all had to get on the phone and just get it right.
It was too many writers.
Yeah,
it was almost 10 writers, and then the publisher, the publisher, and then everybody thought, some of the writers thought they were supposed to get more than the artist itself. Like that was totally odd in itself. Like and we had to hash it out to where for that percentage of those songs to be taken care of.
Right.
And by the time we got to it, it was so minuscule. And then the other portion of it is that if you take too long, some of those funds you can't even get back.
Yeah, there ain't no retro on some of them joints.
Ain't no retro on some of that. So that's why it's important for those songs to be registered appropriately in the first place, right? So
yeah.
we want to pivot a little bit and talk about the importance of registering your songs and how you need to register them appropriately. And if you haven't already, check what we did. We started off the new year with dropping a free ebook on the song registration. We call it the Songwriter's Guide to Song Registration. It's the essential steps to protect and to monetize your music.
You got it up on the board, you can see.
So this is a what you call it that we have here that you can see.
Mm-hmm.
So basically, it's the Songwriter's Guide to Song Registration. It's going to be the essential steps to protect and monetize your music. So for artists out there who are making music and don't know what are the steps that they need to do to make sure that they're protecting the music, that's the first thing. And then the second thing is to make sure that you're monetizing your music. Right. And if you're not registered with all of these different places, you're not going to be able to collect your royalties. Like that's just the reality of the situation. So you can make all the music you want, but if you're not registered with these entities, there's some you're leaving money on the table right now. This is not the money that comes from your digital distributor. That's different. The money that comes from your digital distributor, that's coming straight from them. But that's not all of the earnings that your song is supposed to give you. So in this guide, what we've tried to do, we've tried to make it as simple as possible, give you a few places that you need to register just to make sure that you know what it is. So first you need to know what it is that you need to register for, what that organization does, um, what it pays out, and then giving you guys the links to register those songs individually, making sure that all of your stuff, your catalog is being registered.
Okay.
If you want to get your free copy, arkatechbeats.com, put in your email, you get a free copy of the ebook, no issues.
Man, free jewels, man. Like, come on, who's doing
Yeah,
this, man?
yeah, it's free. And if you want to support the brothers, you can go get it on Amazon and what you call it. But for the most part, it's free, right? So we'll get into it, right? So as far as what we're talking about, we're just talking about really the introduction of it and why we wrote it. We talk about an LLC, right? And people may say, well, what does that have to do with your song registration? Well, for you as a songwriter, you need to have a company or a legal entity that you can operate as a quote unquote music publisher. Because remember, there's two parts of it. You have to be at the music publishing side, and then there's the songwriter side. You can own 100% of the song, but remember, you can only collect 50% as a writer, and then you have to collect the other part as a publisher. So
Right.
that's the game that that's the game where a lot of people get tricked. They say, well, I own 100% of the song, but you can't collect 100% of the song if you're not a legal quote unquote business entity, right? Now you can do that as a sole proprietor. We say to do an LLC. This is not financial advice, but that's just the way that we do it. To one, get some more of the tax benefits, and also to get some protection in terms of lawsuits, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
This part specifically, I've seen over the years so many times. It's very tricky. The 50% on the 100%, 50%. I've seen it. I've gone back and forth with people about it, especially in negotiations. Just basically because some people don't understand it. They're like, "Well, I'm supposed to get 100% of the song." Yeah, but it's 50% of this and then 50% of that, which gives you your 100%. So it can get confusing.
That's the confusion. You
Because
do have
it's really 200%. In a weird way of looking at it.
The funny thing about that is that's how they used to do it. They used to do it back in the day that it used to be a 200%, right? Where
Right.
100% of the publishing and 100% music
100%.
publishing, right? 100% songwriter, 100% music publishing.
Right.
And they used to do it that way, but it seemed like people got more confused by having it 200%. So they said, let's just break it back down to 50%. And then you have to also recognize and realize that, remember, if you work with a producer, the producer is entitled to pretty much half of your music publishing, right?
Right.
So if you are the artist and you wrote the lyrics, that's going to be 50%. And then the producer is going to have 50%. And then if you're breaking it down even more, like you said, that producer has 25% songwriter, 25% publisher, and you have 25% songwriter and 25%.
It's the same thing, but it's just the actual percent number was just confusing for a lot of people.
Right. So we talk about it saying, hey, you need an LLC. We say, what is an LLC? Why do you need one? We talk about that. We talk about what a copyright is and how do you copyright your music. So you also get that information. We also talk about the performance right organizations, and this is ASCAT, BMI, CSAC, so that you understand that they are collecting certain portions of your royalties. You have to be registered with them in order to collect that. Like, there's really no shortcut behind that. Then we talk about the sound exchange. That's also another.
Sound exchange is a monster if you don't pass that thing right.
Yeah, it's another issue again that if you're not registered with them, you're leaving money on the table. We suggest Song Trust. A lot of times, folks say, "Well, why do you suggest this?" It's because of the way that they collect, especially YouTube royalties and other publishing royalties, and the way that their infrastructure is in terms of being able to easily input the song information so that they collect it easily. They're an admin, and we talked about that before. This is a publishing administrator. There is a registration fee for $100 to get with them, but I think it's worth it. And we also give you a discount code inside of the book so that if you can save $20 off that initial registration
Yeah,
if you
cool.
go to do that. So also a Harry Fox agency. This is for your mechanicals and your sync. So that's another one that you'll need to sign up for. The MLC does the same thing. Now, typically, if you signed up with Song Trust, you may not need to be with the MLC, but I had to put those options there just so that you were aware of it, right? Then we talk about the music reports, digital service providers, and that's going to be like your DistroKid, TuneCore, etc.
Yeah,
And
yes.
and then the other two registrations we talk about is basically uh more so for like SoundScan, more so for like charting, which would be like media base. And these things are also important for your song so that if your song starts to get traction,
Uh-huh.
you can start to really chart immediately, or you'll start to have you can have some metrics in terms of where you're getting your radio play from, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So this is really a song registration situation all the way throughout, where you get to register your songs from really front to back, and really try to give everybody just different ways to do things. You know what I mean? So
Right.
like we said, it's a free ebook, excuse me, and that we have out there. And it's really for artists to really kind of and producers to know what the situation is and how to get situations done. Um,
And so basically, if you're not registering registering your songs, if you're not using this book, and you're leaving money on the table.
that's what we're trying to make people avoid. And really, the more that you understand with it, when it's time for you to get a publishing deal, you can't get robbed,
Right.
right? Because
We're
you
basically
already
arming
have
you. Yeah, we're basically arming you with the information you need to make better deals.
better
You
deals,
know,
because now you're going to know what's happening behind everything, right? Because if you've released some of your own music and you've gotten a few coins from it, right? You'll be able to see how it's broken down. You'll be able to see what you got paid from this, what you got paid from the Sound Exchange, what you got paid from ASCAP, or so forth and so on, or Song Trust, or whatever. And then you can now say, okay, this is how it works. So now when someone comes to you and say, hey, we want to give you a publishing deal, you're not totally in the dark.
right?
You,
And you know what, Jug? Another thing, man, is look, if you're accepting bad publishing deals, the next person is going to accept bad publishing deal, and it creates a bad stigma. Like if we're doing what we need to do to make sure we enlighten our community, they're not going to come to us with bad deals.
right.
You know, they do a good deal with us, they do a good deal with you, and they'll know what the standard is.
This is real. Like this is real. It's because
You know,
they're not going to change the standard because we continue to
we,
sign the bad deals.
exactly. So if we keep accepting these bad deals, they're going to keep giving us bad deals.
And they're
So
going to
this is
do it in
one.
the name of business. They're going to say it's
So
just
this is another
business.
reason. So this is another reason why we're giving you this information, so you can stop making these bad deals, and then moving forward, the next generation doesn't have to accept bad deals as well, because they know better. They know better not to offer you this. And it's a shame how they just keep. How many years have we been doing this as far as in the music business, and we're just still making bad deals over and over and over again? You heard the horror stories. You heard the horror stories over and over. And artists and producers still continue to make bad deals. They still continue to sign contracts without having the lawyer look at it. It's ridiculous.
No, it's really the oppressed being the oppressors. It's us copying the behavior of the oppressors. It's like, and it's really us giving our own people bad deals, because at this point, a lot of us are in positions of power, and we're still giving each other bad deals. Like this to me doesn't make sense in a situation where now everything is damn near independent. Everybody is you have all of these different organizations that you can clearly see. Like what I what I what I got put onto very early was when at the time I think BMG had, before BMG merged into Sony, they were they had their publishing arm. And I
Mhm.
was like, okay, you know, I was doing some research and I come to find out that they were using the same administrator that we were using,
Holy smoke!
right? In the Harry Fox agency to collect the mechanical royalties. So
So they weren't doing it themselves.
they weren't doing it themselves. They were still outsourcing it to a vendor at the time.
Huh.
You see what I'm saying? So you just need to have the information. You see what I'm saying? Like if you didn't have the information and didn't know that, this was supposed to pay you mechanical royalties, like you wouldn't have known. Like we were signed up with this thing since 1998, but people would not have known that. Like, like these things, there's no internet for this at the time. And people didn't know, and
That's true.
and then you had to have a fax machine. You had to fill out these long forms. You had to fax those in. You don't know if they got it. There was no internet portals. Like now, it's so simple. I can't believe people are still out here and not doing it. So this is why we decided to write this book. This is the reason why we wanted people to get it. This is why we're allowing it to go out for free, is
Yeah.
because we feel like the information is more important than anything else. And how are you going to get yourself right in this music business if you're not collecting all of your coins? Like this, there's no way for you to live off of your art.
Look, this
Not
book
not for
is
the long term.
this book is really broken down nice and simple and short. I know a lot of y'all don't like to read or read anything lengthy, so we trying we
Made it
package it
short,
real short, sweet,
real
right to
short.
the point, no fluff, and just get to it. And it's something you could always kind of look back to if you need a little refresh. You could always, just keep it with you, keep it, in your little studio, keep it wherever with you, so you could always go back to and kind of refresh yourself. Like, okay, this is what I got to do. Just leave it next to your computer. Like anytime you make a new beat, a new song, you just run down the line. Okay, this is my checklist. Okay, I got to make sure I do this. I got to do this. I got to do that. And if you do that, man, you'll be a whole lot. You'll be a whole lot better off in the long run. So
Absolutely. I think that's the main thing is just trying to get the information and be educated as to what you need to do when you finish your songs. Like you can put out an album in a day, right? If you got the songs recorded, you can upload everything, get it put out. It can be out in a few hours if you're talking about like, depending on when you uploaded it and when the DSPs will get it.
yeah, but
Like,
if
and
you're
it
not
takes
if the records are not registered properly, it's gonna be all in vain.
and then also too, remember we're in a situation where songs get discovered and found and viral and things happen. And you want to make sure that you're in a position to capitalize when your song really starts to go.
Hmm.
You don't want to be in a situation where you're not you didn't take care of everything, and then you're missing out on different money and different stuff, or someone comes and can take it advantage of you not registering the songs or you not protecting the song. Like that
Right.
creates a whole bunch of other type of situations. So like that's the main thing that I think that this is supposed to do for you. So I guess I want to recap a little bit, right? So
Okay.
the main thing with the bad music publishing deals is that people don't ever relinquish all of your publishing.
Right.
Never sign off 100% of it. There's a reason why you have percentages. The percentages are so that you can share out, you can sell off portions of it so that you can leverage it. So if you need money, you can sell a portion of it. No one sells 100% of their business. You lose control of that. You lose control of your business if you sell 100% of it. So you never sell 100% of it.
Yeah.
That's just the reality of the situation. So
Yeah.
if you're getting in advance, you don't sell 100% of your publishing. If you do decide to sell your publishing side, which would be 50%, you still have to maintain your writer share. At least make sure you're maintaining that 50% of that situation. So if you want to give away 100% of your music publisher side, you don't give away the other half of your songwriter side. And that's the way that you can continue to make sure that you eat in case if a song blows the hell up. If you
Right.
if you're in a situation and the song blows up, it's like shit. You gave them everything. You gave
Yeah.
them 100% of the publisher side and 100% of the songwriter side. Like, are you an idiot? Like, why would you do that? And especially if you have access to top tier artists. If you have access to a top tier artist, if listen, if you're a no name person and somebody comes and say, "Hey, I'm going to give you this amount of money for a song for music publishing or publishing deal," the red flag is supposed to go off in your head.
Yeah. So red flag right away. Like, why is this person giving me
Why
all
is
this
this person
money?
trying to give me all this money? And this person trying to give me all this money, that means it's something good for me. So I need to make sure that, okay, I need the bread. I don't want to kill the deal, but you need to make sure that you hold back some of the percentage for yourself so
Yep.
that you can always maneuver and you can make sure that you get the fruits of some of your labor. So that's the first thing. The second thing, part of the recap again, is we say, hey, I need you um to search out admin deals. Admin deals are to me is the safest thing for you to deal with. You're not
Hmm.
relinquishing any ownership. They're just
Right.
getting paid a fee off of your earnings for them to go collect your money.
Yeah, because it's a headache to try and collect it yourself. Good
Oh
luck with that.
yeah, it's tough. So it's tough. You have to be very meticulous in terms of being able to see where all of the songs are registered. Like for us, like we keep a spreadsheet because
Yep.
we have damn near 400 songs, and you have to keep a spreadsheet. You have to keep all of the ISRC codes. You have to keep when they were registered,
Yeah.
where they were registered at, what's the barcodes. Like this is where it
And then
gets
there's different regions too.
right, and then
So
it gets crazy. So it's like if you're not into doing all of that, then you
which
get an
which most
administrator.
people aren't.
Right, you get an administrator.
Yep.
You jump into a song trust, and we're recommending song trust here to as the administrator. Like that's what we're recommending. Hey, we need you to go get the song trust. To me, they're the best in terms of you know getting into that situation and not necessarily having to do too much. And it's $100 that you're going to pay, but it's in my opinion the best situation to get in terms of um getting it taken care of. Hold
Plus,
on
you
a
get a
second.
discount if you use one of our links.
And if the discount, if you want to get the discount, I'm gonna put it on the screen. If you want to get the discount for Songtrust, of course, you're gonna go to songtrust.com. You want to use this code, just say code Arkatech Beatz, and you want to put it in one word, Arkatech Beatz. Um, and you'll save $20 off your registration. So
Dope.
that's something that's to me, you guys can't really lose on that. Um, it is going to be what it's going to be. But definitely, if you haven't gone to Song Trust, do that.
Yeah.
Um, you're going to need to definitely make sure that you're taking care of your ASCAP. You still need to sign up with ASCAP, even with Song Trust, ASCAP, or BMI. We're with ASCAP, but we also have a company with BMI.
Mhm.
Just in case.
Yeah.
you know, just in case the one doesn't act the way it needs to act. There's a backup.
Jug, quick question. Uh, Quentin Miller. Is there a way that he could have got out that situation?
It's not ethical. If you're asking me if there's a way that he could have circumvented it. Yeah, there's a way. There's a ton of ways that you can circumvent it. You just don't put the songs in your credit. You get the song credit to somebody else that you have access to. That's all. And he could have easily circumvented that. I've seen that happen in the case of like with Shorty Low. Like
Yeah.
Shorty Low used to put songs in his kids' names.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's how you circumvent the publishing deal.
Yeah.
You give your kids you give your kids the songwriter credit, and you set up publishing entity for them.
Because I've seen artists have multiple publishing deals,
Yep.
and they pick and decide which company would get which company would get which song. So when they release this record, they're like, okay, I'm going to give him that publishing, or I'm going to give him percent and give him percent. So they have two companies being a part of it, and I'm just like, wow.
It's really considered unethical. Now they're going to say that's fraud. They're going to say, hey, you're not supposed to have any other entity that you're carrying under. But if honestly, if this is Drake, right? Like this is a Drake song. So the question that you have to ask yourself is like, okay, I got this publishing deal. They got 100% of my publishing. I'm doing 6 songs with this guy Drake, right? Okay, they're not going to know unless you tell them, right? Because Drake's team is gonna call you and say how you want to be credited,
Yeah.
right?
Yep. And you're the one that actually has to tell them, okay, I have a publishing deal
Yep.
with so and so, so
With
you
so
have
and
to put
so, you
their
have to do
credit,
this, and you got to do this, and you got to do
right?
that. So once Drake's team hits you and say, "Hey, this is my new publishing situation. It needs to be credited under this." Okay, And once that thing is etched in contract, good luck reversing that.
And so basically, Quentin Miller could have said, if he did 6 Drake records, he could have said, "I'm going to give 3 to the publisher and keep 3 to myself."
He could have did that way because I give 3 to them and 3 to my kids.
Yeah,
we could have did it that way.
You know
what I'm saying? Like,
depending on how his deal is set up too. Like, gotta be smart about it.
Listen,
man.
Listen. They can't collect what you don't give them.
Yeah,
and that's the reality of it. They can't collect it if you don't register it.
Right.
You can't. They can't collect it if it's not contracted to that writer. If that writer isn't credited, you can't collect it.
That's
right.
true.
So the key here is that he could have assigned the writer's credit to anybody. He could have relinquished it to somebody. He didn't have to. He could have just said, "Hey, my kid inspired that. That's my kid's writing. My kid wrote that for me."
Wow.
Right or wrong, like you could have did that. You know what I'm saying? Like who would have what could they have done?
And we're not telling you to do that either.
Yeah, we're not telling you to do that. They're gonna
just
say it's unethical and it's fraud.
disclaimer.
I'm just saying.
We're not saying anything that you should cheat.
We're not saying that. We're just saying that in general. Like, but listen, like it's egregious to have done songs like that and to not get anything from it. But again, if you sign the contract,
yeah.
Right. The key here is not to sign those type of contracts. The key here is to say, okay, let me retain 10%, 20%. Like there's so many varying degrees of how much of the songs he could have retained before you let that happen.
Bottom line, you got to be knowledgeable of this business, and if you're knowledgeable and if you're armed with the right information, you can make better decisions. And too many people are just making bad decisions, and they're suffering from it.
So before everybody goes again, free ebook, arkatechbeats.com. Get your free ebook, Songwriter's Guide to Song Registration, Essential Steps to Protect and Monetize Your Music. It is free, people.
Free.
Free.
I
can't. We can't give you any. We can't. All we do is give you free game. So if you want to know how to protect and monetize your music, this is the guide to do that.
Go to the site, download it.
Download it for free. All you got to do is put your email in and get that.
And while you're there, check out the shop. We got a couple things on there, some beats, some merch, if you want to support, if you need some beats for your projects or whatever, we got a couple things on there for you. So, look around.
Arkatechbeats.com. There's a lot of music going up, and that's about to get crazy for the new year. Watch out, there's gonna be a lot of heat on that thing.
So browse around, see if there's anything that you can use, man. And all of this is to help you in your career, in your advancement. Whether it's music, whether it's information, it's all there for your growth in your career.
That's what's up, man. So with that being said, if you haven't already followed, subscribed, X, Y, and Z, follow us at arkatechbeats.com, Twitter at Arkatech Beats, everything at Arkatech Beats, YouTube, whatever, like everything at Arkatech Beats.
Thanks for rocking with us.
That's what's up, everybody. Thanks for rocking,
and Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. I really forgot about that, man. Happy New Year, joint, man. Like Happy New Year. But until next time, people.
Peace.
Peace.
Arkatech Beats.